This story has updates. Put a lien on my neighbors for not being able to pay an illegal special assessment. I'll put a lien on your $20 million mansion. Posted by MKAir01. This may be the most petty thing I have ever done in my life. I'm a pretty petty person, and I also believe in malicious compliance, but this takes the cake. So I bought a condo in a building in a large city in the US about 2.5 years ago. The building has an HOA that we all pay into monthly. Since I've lived here, the building has rapidly deteriorated, and we have all hired an attorney for a class action style lawsuit. I'm talking broken elevators, broken rooftop AC units, the pool was empty for 4 months during the summer, and so on. The people in the building are great though, and we are a friendly bunch. Last year, I took the HOA to small claims court because they failed to provide financial documents that show us how our fees are being spent. As this is a legal requirement for all HOAs in my state, I won the case and was awarded the $30 filing fee plus $1. Symbolic, I sued for documents and not money. The fact that they can't provide the docs as they are legally required to do is a separate issue, among others, including possible criming that we've hired the attorneys for. I have asked the HOA to pay the $31 to me, and the president of the HOA wants to either meet me somewhere private to give it to me, or he wants to mail me a satisfaction of judgment form, have me sign it and mail it back to him, and then he will mail me a check. No to both. 3 days after I won the case, the HOA announced that they were going to charge us all a special assessment of about $1,000 each and an increase in our monthly dues of 10%. In my state, a membership vote gets triggered if you charge a special assessment that brings the building more than 5% its yearly income, which means 51% of the owners must approve of the assessment for it to take effect. As this money is about 20% of our yearly income, a vote should have taken place. When we asked about this vote, the HOA said that it was being made under an emergency clause, which means that the membership vote doesn't have to take place. The emergency? Fixing the elevator that broke on December 24, 2021. The spirit of the emergency clause is for things like fire and earthquake, flood, and so on, not a broken elevator that's been broken for a year already. When there was understandable pushback, the HOA sent out a little email stating that anyone who didn't pay the assessment would have a lien put on their unit. The liens came down yesterday to those that couldn't pay $1,000 on short notice. Our attorneys told us that even though the money is still in dispute, we still have to pay it, and I did pay mine, but we also have a lot of retirees and lower income people in the building. The HOA president's house is currently on the market for $20 million. I just got back from the courthouse where I filed a $31 lien against it for $140, clouding its title. It's a matter of principle, not money. Now, the title can't change hands until he pays me my $31, and I am perfectly within my rights to collect on a judgment owed. I will for sure keep you guys updated after the attorneys do their thing. That might be a story for Pro Revenge though. And some confusion here. I initially filed the small claim with the HOA as defendant. The small claim judge determined that was incorrect and said I should sue the individual as the president of the HOA and made me amend the case. Therefore, the defendant in this whole case was the one individual person, and therefore, he is responsible for the $31, and I can exercise my right to put a lien on his home in my effort to collect. I can only put a lien against the defendant, and the defendant is a person. I can't put a lien against the HOA because they were not the defendant in the case. The courts had already determined that the person owes me money. I don't need to continue to argue a case that I've already won. People are accusing me of lying because they don't understand the legal system. Thank you to all those who are supporting my efforts. We hope to have the people overthrown and in prison by the end of the year. We've turned over all that we have to our attorneys, who are the best HOA attorneys in LA. We will get these people. The update. So a couple of weeks ago, we were all informed that there's going to be a second special assessment this year. Our last one was about $1 per square foot, and this one is $1.25 per square foot. I'm getting a rhinoplasty next month and just can't afford to plop another $1,250 to these people, and therefore, I'm not paying. This, combined with the SA from a few months ago, equals about 45% of our building's income, well over the 5% limit in the state of California. Several other people are not paying because they either can't afford it or simply think it's too much. Both are valid. He can lien my unit all day and every day. I will go to court hearings about it and get it thrown out. Our HOA recall election was tonight. 5 seats on the board. Us individual homeowners put forth 3 candidates. The 3 of us spent many Sundays going door-to-door campaigning, and we did get a lot of neutral owners on board. With the ballots, you can either mail them in or fill them out in person. Most of us elect to mail them in, and there were 2 questions on them. First, do you approve of the recall election? And next, place your vote for the candidates in this grid. Unfortunately, several people skipped question 1, and approval for the recall was therefore less than 51%. The family of crooks that run our building now own 119 units out of the 180, and we just didn't get it. After the election, there was an HOA meeting. I find these things an absolute waste of time, a stupid meeting ran by stupid people, but I did show up about 20 minutes late for about 10 minutes, and a literal fistfight almost broke out, and the family announced that, even though I have a seat on the board, they are no longer including me in meetings because I am disrespectful. People literally started screaming. Another owner made an audio recording of the whole thing, and I sent it along to our attorney. Our HOA bylaws require mediation before litigation, and so we have that coming up, in which we are asking for a large sum of money, our attorney fees, and this family to give up their positions of power and have their voting rights stripped permanently. If they refuse, we go to litigation, and a judge will subpoena their financial records, which will show laundering, embezzlement, theft, and God knows what else. So I have a pretty good feeling that they'll accept to avoid the alternative potential prison. Also, the house I put the lien on still hasn't sold, so I still haven't gotten my $31, and our elevators still don't work. Next update. I took the advice of some commenters and reported this family to the IRS. I sent an email to our internal email Google group that I manage and that has all the other owners on it, with a link to print out the form and an invitation to do the same. 3 days later, I was served with a cease and desist regarding defamation. I found out later that Jerkboy threatened another tenant into forwarding the email to him. I have informed our attorneys of this. I regarded the cease and desist as a type of slap and promptly disregarded, as there is never anything wrong with cooperating with a government agency. I've not yet heard anything else regarding this. Our CC&Rs require alternative dispute resolution before jumping to litigation, or ADR. We decided to go that route, and our attorneys, angels really, put together a 130-page document outlining each and every fart these people have made within their collective lifetimes, complete with numerous pages of exhibits and so on. In our demand, we ask for either complete building refurbishment or $5 million in cash to be stripped of their positions of power, and our attorney fees, which are so far about $22,000 at this point, raised through crowdsourcing within our building. This was served to them last week, and they have 30 days to respond. If they don't respond, we go directly to litigation. As a judge will subpoena every bank record for the last 20 years or so, which may uncover evidence of crimes, we feel that the Jerk and Company should feel very inclined to accept our offer. In the meantime, I got my rhinoplasty a few weeks ago. Guess which major US city I live in, and it's absolutely scorching here. Our water went out for 7 hours on Sunday, and with it, our AC as well as our HVAC units are liquid cooled. They got fixed Sunday night, and now the water just stopped working again. Nobody knows why, and as it's the middle of the night here, nothing can be done. My monthly HOA dues are due today, so I'm going to fork over $400 for what? Additionally, I made it clear that I wasn't paying the second special assessment, but I've continued paying my regular $400 monthly dues. However, they've been putting that money towards the special assessment and charging me a late fee for the remaining special assessment balance, as well as a late fee for each month for each unpaid monthly dues. Double compound late fees are illegal here, and when I reached out to the Jerk secretary, she told me that it was just how our bill pay system works. They're trying to get my balance up to $1,800 so they can foreclose, which is the minimum amount required in my state. The attorneys are aware, so we shall see. He has less than 3 weeks remaining to reply to our ADR. This may have to move over to pro revenge at that point. And the $20 million house still hasn't sold, so I still haven't received my $31, which is clearly the real issue here. This email says check for $31. You'll receive a check for $31 via FedEx in the next few days. I'll forward the tracking number as soon as available. I expect that you'll record a satisfaction of judgment once the check clears. I believe I sent you that form earlier. The whole homeowners association gets Tyrannosaurus Rex, literally, posted by deleted. I used to live in a 2-story townhouse in Vancouver around 2010 with my parents. Keep in mind that this is in Canada, where HOAs are not as common as the USA and are not seen as evil. But this HOA was different. First, the characters. My mother was a 50-year-old woman working at a grocery store, and as we were Muslims, she wore a headscarf. She was a very nice woman to everyone that she met, including people that she knew hated her for whatever. Kill them with kindness, right? I was in engineering school and about to graduate in a few months. My father was a regular working man. He is not important in this HOA story. What the problem was, these HOA jerks were a group of fat, possibly retired and stay-at-home moms and dads. They made bullcrap rules like all the floor mats must be straight and inspection of your suite will be done bi-monthly. And the worst, which was no overnight or late night guest. We owned our residence, and here these jerks were trying to ruin it, making it seem as if we were tenants. My family was wanting to bring my grandmother to Canada, and the visa just made it through. We were excited to have her, so we go to the airport and come back with her. Meeting of the HOA butts on the way. She asked us straight, "Who is this and why does she have bags?" Wait, what? I said she will be staying for a month and it's my gran. The hippo's eyes locked onto my gran and said, "You can't be here?" Right. Since she didn't speak English, my gran looked in confusion. In the end though, my mom and I had a large convo with this jerk and she agreed to give us one last warning. Whatever. The next day at 11 p.m., the jerk knocks. What's wrong? I am going to let you know that I will have to issue you guys fines if I cannot see your mother's back on the security cameras. Her face was visible, but I need a proper view in case we get burglars. What the heck? It was late, so I didn't argue, so I just went back without telling my mother. The next day, she does this same ordeal, but with my mom. She was furious and she told her to leave and to not be racist. The HOA jerk yelled, "Islam's not a race, you freaking slur, witch," and left. I will never ever forget that night. My mother wept like a baby for the night, and it was the worst freaking night of my life, second to only when she passed away last year. I could not see this BS continue. I did what I thought would be best. I went around and I took questions from every single house and asked about this bee. They all said the same thing, and on my way home, I noticed a freaking fine being written on our door for failing to keep our floor mat straight. It's a circle. How are we supposed to make it straight? At any rate, I spent some time on Reddit asking legal advisors from Canada on what can be done. They all recommended I get a form of proxy for all residents. That will let me vote for them just via myself. I got around 50 people out of 60 to sign it, and boy was I ready. The next election, I voted every single one of those jerks out, and I made my mother the head of the association. I got the position of vice president, and I removed all of those rules. The next day, I made the rules for our new HOA, and all it said was literally this. This HOA exists only to make sure no other HOA can take its place. There are absolutely no enforced rules here besides keeping your portion of the hallway clean and no interfering with other members' residence. That, my friends, is how I made the old HOA extinct. The jerk people became really friendly afterwards. Homeowners Association board member causes a crappy Christmas, posted by Nevada Drifter. Our lovely HOA has decided that should you choose to decorate your exterior for the winter holiday season, your lighting may not have 2 consecutive bulbs that are the same color, unless all of your lights are the same color. Last year, I hung my usual blue lighting and intentionally swapped in 1 red bulb, just to tick off our HOA CCNR enforcement officer. It took 2 days before I had a friendly phone call, another 3 days until I received a certified letter, and an additional 5 days until a $50 violation fine showed up. The holidays passed, and I continued to fight the fine. I refused to pay it. Late fees started to build, and eventually I was summoned to an association meeting. I compiled a list of some of the most insane HOA regulations that I could find to compare to the insanity that I was dealing with. I admitted that I changed the bulb intentionally, and I pled with the HOA board to have a little reason. It turns out that while a majority vote was needed to pass a new regulation, a unanimous vote is needed to change or repeal a regulation. All of the HOA board members, with the exception of one, who just so happened to be the old woman who cited me for the violation to begin with, agreed that the rule was unnecessary. This old hag proceeded to argue that, even though she didn't live on my street, my lighting had ruined her Christmas, and presumably the Christmas of everyone on my street. Finally, someone on the board pointed out that, while they needed a unanimous vote to change the regulation, they only needed a majority vote to remove another member of the board. An immediate vote was taken, and the lighting jerk was removed from the board. A motion was made to revote on my case, and it was immediately dismissed. The HOA takes over and destroys my property, but I'm not even part of the HOA. Click on the video on your screen, you don't want to miss this crazy fallout, and I'll see you there.